when you're in a meeting, maybe asking one question, because inevitably there's going to be something that you don't know, and just being intentional about, all right, I'm going to go into this meeting with all of these other leaders and I'm going to ask one question. And then also, I like the idea of processing time, whether you're leading a meeting or you're a participant in a meeting. If you need that processing time, ask for it. If there's no agenda, ask what the topic is going to be and then think about it.
Hello and welcome to our space where we connect, collaborate, and co-create. I'm Ed.
And I'm Paul.
And this is the Thought Partners Podcast. Paul, I think you have a bit of an introduction to do.
I'm very excited because it's been far too long since I've gotten to spend some time with my friend, Melissa Yu, who is our guest today, who I affectionately call MY. And Melissa Yu represents to me the kind of quiet power that often gets overlooked especially when we're talking about leading others, a context of leading. And I've known Melissa for almost a decade. And over that time, she has been a thought partner, a co-mentor, and a friend of mine. And she always helps me expand how I think, how I lead, how I listen. We've had countless dialogues. We've tried many frameworks together. We've experimented and piloted things. We discovered through one of the many assessments that we experienced together that we are complete opposites in thinking preference. And it has been a beautiful collaboration, especially and ever since. Melissa is a true professional. She has led and leads teams and programs across sectors, from education to mental health and org development. She connects people and improves systems, and she translates insights into real sustainable action. And her work lives in designing environments where people can thrive. And that's one of my favorite things about her. Outside of that, she's an avid runner and is one of my fitness friends. And I have always admired that and think that the discipline that she shows with that mirrors in her leadership style. She's consistent, she's deliberate, and she's quietly strong. And Melissa Yu, we are so excited to have you here.
Thank you. That was very, very nice, PT.
How are you, Melissa? How have you been? What have you been up to? What are you thinking, feeling, or experiencing in this moment?
I have missed hearing that phrase. Things have been good. I've been on a quote unquote new job now for almost a year and a half. And I would say I've had the most balance, work-life balance that I've ever had. That's been refreshing because I didn't know it was possible to not work for, many, many hours and past the normal time of other people. And that has been really nice. Still doing a lot of running and activity and trying to bring that to my new organization as well. Organizing an activity for that group has been really rewarding.
That's so great to hear. Did you say you've been with the new job for a year and a half?
Almost. Feels like forever. But then it's just been a couple of months, so I don't know.
And you still consider it new after a year and a half. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I think it's because I still don't necessarily feel like I am an expert. When we worked together, I felt like, like I can be a resource to so many different people. And I had lots of different connections around the organization, even though I'm an introvert, which I think is a misnomer that introverts don't like to connect with people. But at my current place, I don't have that comfort level yet.
Let's talk about well-being centered leadership in practice. What does that look like for you? How do you model calm in times of disruption in the workplace, in your trust building that you're doing?
Transparency and consistency are really important. Sharing as much as you can, and also being as honest as you can be about how you're feeling about something. So I guess it's really authenticity. I just remember as a kid, they would ask us something about how we would describe ourselves. And then I always just loved the word genuine. Just be a real person and being an advocate for your team, especially for people who may be introverted or not as in your face about it, but just always fighting for your team. And not everybody does that. I've worked with a lot of people who were amazing advocates, and I feel like I wouldn't be here without those people. I want to be that person for somebody else too.
I think when we talk about quiet strength, that's exactly what you're modeling to me. You are going to be that authentic, genuine voice who is going to advocate for the things that you value and the folks that you are connected to. That those are the foundations for that quiet strength that we've kind of walked into at this point.
One of my favorite managers used to say, still waters run deep, to describe me. And it just really resonated
Yeah.
with me.
Still waters run deep. I would think MY, Melissa, you. I want to point out something that I noticed from you, and especially in the way you're talking about the way you support teams. When we go back to trust and we talk about how trust is built, I refer to the trust equation. And the trust equation is capability, reliability, and intimacy, the combination of those, but it's divided by, and the big part of it is orientation, whether it's self orientation or oriented on the other person's needs. And very strongly, there is a servant mindset that you bring to the table that is oriented on solving problems and solving other people's needs and wanting to deliver for other people using your capability and your reliability, the intimacy piece. But there is a very powerful, that part of that undercurrent that I think we were just talking about is that orientation on others. Can you talk about how you came to that mindset? Like, you mentioned your childhood a few minutes ago, and I've never heard you mention that before. And I'm super curious if you could tell us a little bit about how you came to be such an other oriented leader, a servant leader.
A lot of it started with just how I was brought up by my parents. They instilled the values of hard work and the importance of family and doing things to help the family. Yeah, often you would get kind of swept under the collective. It started there, but also, I like to help people, and I just want to do everything I can to like help solve somebody's problems. It gives me such a good feeling throughout like all my different roles. That is kind of one of the core things that is driving me. But then also there's the other side of it. Sometimes you don't value your time enough, which is a problem of mine.
So you'll sacrifice your own needs. That's your go-to. That's sort of your operating system. You have to sort of work to do less of that because that's sort of your natural tendency.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm gonna ask a bold question. Is that one of the reasons that you run? to escape that or to do that thing for you, or do you run for other reasons?
Well, I mean, I do run to get the free shirts and the medals, but
Who doesn't love free shirts and medals?
free because you're paying for it. So there's that.
Who doesn't love free shirts and medals that you paid for?
But yes, it's for myself. Most mornings I'll do, whatever, 6 miles. And then I,
Whatever. Just 6 miles. Is that all you do, Melissa?
That's all.
I did
I
8 miles on my e-bike the other day and I thought, oh man, whew, I'm exhausted.
but it's 8 a.m. and you've accomplished that already. And then you can spend the rest of your time doing something for somebody else. For my mental health, I often think like, oh, if I didn't have that, I don't know what would happen. I'd have to find some other outlet.
I see you doing this where you are working through a puzzle in front of us. Like a problem is in front of you. You have the pieces, they're on the table in front of you, and you're carefully selecting the pieces that build the border. And then you're going in and you're putting the like pieces together to build out pieces inside the puzzle until you finish the puzzle. And then you're happy and you send that puzzle off. And everyone appreciates it because of the time and energy it took to build the puzzle.
It,
That is the Melissa Yu universe in an extended metaphor.
yes. And it was 1,000 piece puzzle.
1,000 piece. Oh, very particular.
Yeah.
It's not 100 piece. It's 1,000 piece.
Yeah. Definitely.
Higher level of difficulty. You also thrive on that routine piece too. That helps really center you for the day. And I'm hearing that now and I'm really understanding. Like I don't think I quite understood how that fit in the puzzle, going back to the puzzle pieces again. But now I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that that helps structure you and put you in the mindset to do the thing that you want to do for the
My
rest of the
gosh, it's the edge pieces of the puzzle.
And it all comes full circle. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Can we talk about finding your voice for a second?
floor is yours.
I would love to.
I've received that feedback because I'm a quieter person. Something that I can work on is to find my voice. And I have my voice. And I will speak when I would like to speak or I have something to say.
There's a
Um,
choice. There's a choice that's made to reserve whatever that is.
yeah.
That's an interesting point, which is having a voice is not the same as choosing not to speak.
If you don't speak, then how does anybody know what you're thinking? And then for me,
So, if I may, the
yeah,
feedback of the voice comment, is that for you or is that for that person and their idealization of what a leader is?
yeah, perhaps the latter. Um,
If that's meant by find your voice in terms of like speak up more or be louder or talk more, if that's what that means. I agree. I know your voice and why I've been in meetings with you where you have shared, but often it's like a mic drop or it's like the thing that needed to be said rather than a bunch of stuff said loudly. If it's like, oh, we need more quantity or more time spent listening to your voice, or is it refining your voice in terms of what you're trying to communicate? I don't know what the feedback is specifically.
feel like it's more the quantity when I've heard that. But the second part of it of refining, I think, is something that would love to, yeah, continue working on.
I think that's something that you do have. When you assert yourself into a conversation, you have something to say that's valuable. You're not just going to talk because someone else said you need to find your voice. You are going to find that moment where you have something that you want to or slash need to contribute to that conversation. And now you are going to say that. And to Paul's point, that is the thing because you've taken the time to think through it. You've really laid out,
Thoughtful.
you've been thoughtful and you've executed. I'm I know that feedback that you've been talking about find your voice because the more you talk in a meeting, it puts you on X, Y, and Z's radar, and that's good for you. In reality, it's saying the right thing at the right time and executing well that to me is more of a leadership behavior.
Yeah. And to your point about like getting on somebody's radar, like I don't necessarily care about getting on somebody's radar. We all have like, valuable things to say, and I just don't like the performative nature that sometimes happens in corporate America. And I just don't thrive in that.
That kind of swings us back around a little bit to the labels, the pieces that you started us off with earlier, the introvert, the extrovert, the ambivert. And I've had the pleasure of talking about this with you before. These are not buckets. This is a continuum. I'm curious if you want to kind of take us down that path.
Help define it
Yeah.
for us, Emily.
Yeah. I think like we were talking about introversion, extroversion, and ambiversion, like where you get your energy from, whether it's from being around other people as extroverted people may be, or is it more internal and reflective for introverts? Um, we're not all necessarily one thing or the other. And in different contexts and in different environments, we might be an extrovert. Okay, there was one time as a kid, we were playing upstairs from my grandparents' apartment, and I was yelling about something, like screaming, and then, that's not me. And then everybody was like, "Oh, who's that?" I was like, "That's me. I can do that if I want to. I don't have to be quiet and all the time."
Capable of screaming?
Well, sure. It doesn't no. Yeah, like,
You can perform that role. She's just not going to.
no. It's tough when you're trying to project your voice. I'm like, "I can't." Eh, um, but Paul, you said you think that you're an ambivert, and
Well, I very much identify as an ambivert, yes.
Ed, ambivert or introvert?
Introvert. As how I more commonly identify. My energy, oftentimes, I need to reset, especially after being like if I go to a conference or I go to a large event, it is extremely draining. And I do need that reset, that separation. I can, in an absolute necessity, draw energy in an extroverted uh, an extroverted segment. I just am not very good at it. It's not very fulfilling. Whereas sometimes I just need time to just unplug and do my own thing, and then I can start again tomorrow, so to speak.
True. I am often mistaken for an extrovert. I think people would like
Yeah, me too.
peg me as an extrovert. And I'll tell you, I I thrive and I am energized in a facilitation space or mode. When moderating, facilitating, whatever it is, when it's engaging with other people, that's sort of the extroversion in me. Here's the thing though, it doesn't like fill me up, it sort of cycles through me, right? Like I receive it, I process it pretty quickly, I can improv on the spot,
You
and
perform it.
I perform it and I interact with the energy. Like you said, at conferences, there's a certain point where it drains me. I'm not the person who will also meet everybody at the bar after the sessions are over and then also stay up because it's very energizing to them, right? Like, no, no. I, at a certain point, clock out. I am in my room by myself and it's quiet and I probably not, I'm not even scrolling sometimes. Literally just like staring at the ceiling and just breathing and just letting my energy recharge, and that's the introvert in me. I am in the party, I'm there, I'm interacting, I'm networking, everybody sees me, I've been talking to everybody, poof, and then I'm gone. I'm out. Where did Paul go? Oh, he left because my battery was drained and I go charge it up by myself or on a bike ride or on a walk. I don't run or something like that. And that's how I identify as an ambivert. What are your thoughts about that?
Hearing stuff like that reminds me that we're not all the same and not all extroverts or ambiverts are a certain way. It really resonates with me as an introvert, and that we have those same experiences, but we're also quite different. And just having the commonalities are really nice to hear. Earlier in my career, I was kind of ashamed of being an introvert. Why can't I just be like everybody else? Like, why can't I speak up or just say whatever I'm thinking? But because the conversation around introverts and extroverts has become more mainstream and there's been lots of books and things out there, especially after reading the Susan Cain book, I felt like, all right, yeah.
And that's been impactful for you?
When that book like first came out and I read it, I had never heard people talk about introverts in that positive light. And then like it's not something that you like when I grow up, I'm gonna not be that way anymore. Like you're just that way and you're fine. So
Not only that, you thrive.
yes, you can thrive.
You're not just fine,
Yes.
but going back to your point, if I'm reading into it, for the longest time, even growing up, it was the extroverted folks, the folks that are, the funniest person in the room, the person that they get up and they can do comedy hour at any point, and even going into college, I remember those were the folks that got the attention. But I think about the different leaders that I've interacted with, and my most positive experiences have been with folks that either I would think of as introverted or I believe they're introverted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's just a depth of the interaction there and a genuine and authenticity. There's an intentionality, going back to one of Paul's favorite phrases that has really stuck with me lately. There's something there about just being deliberate and being authentic and being there for your team that makes it a different environment.
I know introverts who are aggressive and loud in the room. I know extroverts who show up strategically quiet in certain contexts. And so I want to take us back to your original question, which was I think something about finding your voice, or maybe it was feedback that you got or that you've heard. And I want to continue to pull apart whether we're talking about talking more and not withholding things, or if it's more about intentionality and visibility. Ed, did you just say that intentionality is one of my favorite things? How funny. that you say that about me. And I do think
I
that
think I believe that to be correct.
intentional and visible can be misread as disengagement. Intentional and visible could be the cure or could be the response to someone misreading disengagement, is to explain to your point, I do have a voice and I'm intentional about when I bring it forward, and that silence isn't disengagement. And the way in which you show up and the way in which you do lead from a quiet leadership perspective, I'm hearing you reference Susan Cain's book. I would love to hear if there are any practices or tries or takeaways or any kind of tactical tools or frameworks that you've used from that or from others to begin to be more intentional about asserting and injecting your voice, if even if it's not in the room being louder, or if it's not with the intention of being seen by somebody, because who gives a crap if you're on their radar, but like because you are genuinely interested in adding value. You're a person of value who values people and you look for ways to add value to them. And if they're asking for you to be more intentional about it, maybe we can look for some way, some practice that you can bring it forward.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if this was specifically in her book, but it's been in a lot of other like articles when you're in a meeting, maybe asking one question, because inevitably there's going to be something that you don't know, and just being intentional about, all right, I'm going to go into this meeting with all of these other leaders and I'm going to ask one question. And then also, I like the idea of processing time, whether you're leading a meeting or you're a participant in a meeting. If you need that processing time, ask for it. If there's no agenda, ask what the topic is going to be and then think about it. That's something that I've been trying to do.
So, one of the things that we do toward the end of every one of our episodes is try and co create something for our listeners to take and to play with over the next week or so based on the things that we have talked about and explored together. If you have an idea of something that could be helpful in mini activity that takes 5 to 10 minutes.
Anything from your work in mental health, well-being space that you could share? Tool, a process, a framework?
In the next week in your interactions with different coworkers or family members, trying not to put a label on the person, or just looking at things with fresher eyes and thinking, and maybe trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes too, and just removing those labels that you might have from previous interactions.
So, asking what would this interaction look like if we remove the labels? If I remove the things, the labels that I have associated with you, what could this interaction be?
If we intentionally try to remove those labels in those interactions, it might change the way that we act or our expectations.
I imagine people will resonate and be like, oh my gosh, I hear myself in Melissa You. I think that may be a good practice, how to think about ways for you to share your voice, which I know you do have. So maybe it isn't about finding your voice. Here's precision with words. The words we use matter. Sharing your voice.
I'm going to try that.
And I hope our listeners will too.
If you are watching us on YouTube, if you are listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please take a moment. If you found value in what we've offered here, either today or otherwise, subscribe, like the show, comment. If you've tried out these different exercises, go in, throw it in the comments section, let us know. Paul and I will respond to those. So that's a good avenue for you.
Melissa, what do you have to say to the listeners as a takeaway from the time that we spent here today and folks who took the time to listen and take in our rumblings.
Um, I wish I had learned earlier to just embrace who you are. It's not worse or better than anyone else. You are unique in what you bring. You can come as you are, and that is fine.
Thank you, Melissa. It's true and it's beautiful.
From both of us, thank you for being that voice sometimes that only jumps in when it's the right time and the right thing to say.
And please take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great rest of your day.